Oh, yeah. Welcome to Wrestling Uncensored. I am Dave Simon. He is Johnny North. RingsideReport.net is our website. Go there. Check us out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget, if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and click the bell when you subscribe so you get notifications every time we're on. We put together a fresh show for you this week, a special report because there were a lot of releases from the WWE. WWE letting a bunch of people go, including Rusev, Eric Rowan, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, and a bunch of other people released by the WWE. Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins, Heath Slater, so many people, and we talked about that at length on a special report this week on the YouTube channel on RingsideReport.net. You could go to our website right now to watch a special show that Johnny North and I did just when the news broke, when everybody was released later that day, I guess later that night. We did a show that you can watch right now. So we have so much pro wrestling to get to here on Wrestling Uncensored. We're going to stay away from the releases because I think we really covered it this week, and we have so much more to get to. I want to talk about Ronda Rousey and the controversy that she found herself in this week, some of the comments she made about wrestling being fake fights. She called wrestling fake, and you know pro wrestlers get mad when you call wrestling fake. We'll talk to Johnny North, who is a pro wrestler, about what he thought of Ronda Rousey's comments. We'll also see what Nia Jax had to say about Ronda. Of course, the great Howard Finkel passed away this week. We're going to talk about Howard, the greatest ring announcer of all time. Money in the Bank, May 10th, it's happening. WWE announcing on SmackDown that it's going to be held at the WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. And somehow this match will start on the ground floor of the headquarters and finish on the roof, because the Money in the Bank briefcases will be on the roof of WWE headquarters in Connecticut. So it won't be a traditional Money in the Bank ladder match, some sort of weirdo Money in the Bank we have coming up May 10th that the WWE has announced some weird stipulations for this one. We know that Asuka, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, and Dana Brooke have all qualified for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Daniel Bryan, the lone qualifier for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, and that's why I'm rocking my Daniel Bryan hat right now, representing for the Yes Movement. Very excited to see my main man, Daniel Bryan, qualify as the first qualifier for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match here this year. Yes, 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 the Yes Movement continues here on Wrestling Uncensored. Daniel Bryan getting the win over Cesaro on SmackDown. He will face either Rey Mysterio or Murphy, as those guys set to wrestle on Raw in a Money in the Bank qualifier. We'll try to pick winners for that, and Aleister Black versus Austin Theory in the other men's Money in the Bank qualifier. Oh, and here's another one. Apollo Crews versus MVP set to go down on Raw Monday night in another men's qualifying match. Next week on SmackDown, we'll have Sasha Banks versus Lacey Evans in another women's qualifier, and Drew Gulak versus King Corbin in a men's Money in the Bank qualifier match. So a lot of big matches being made in the WWE Money in the Bank. We have some new stipulations, a new venue for the show. We figured it would take place at the Performance Center. We were wrong. Let's get to that right off the bat, Johnny North. We'll talk about AEW as well and what happened there. People advancing in the AEW tournament for the first ever TNT championship. And I know Big Johnny was happy about that one. But what do you think is going to happen here at Money in the Bank? The Money in the Bank briefcase will be on the roof of Titan Towers in Connecticut, but the match will begin on the ground floor. Is this going to be some sort of cinematic WWE experience reminiscent of the Firefly Funhouse and Boneyard matches at WrestleMania?
Well, it's not going to be guaranteed that it's going to be live, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if some things are taped. The second they announced this, I thought of that Attitude commercial from the Super Bowl. I don't know if you remember that, when they were like fighting all through the office of WWE.
Yeah.
I kind of thought about that right away, and it kind of be something like that. But it's kind of cool in the end. It's going to end on the rooftop. And I'm already thinking you do something like Hogan the Giant where someone falls off the roof. That'd be fantastic. But that's probably not going to happen. But either way, I think this should be very interesting. It's different. It's something you wouldn't expect WWE to do, so hats off for them to do it.
It's different, but we don't know what to expect, right? We have no idea what to expect from this match, and it won't be live. They were filming stuff Friday for this. Like Friday morning, they were filming on the roof of WWE headquarters. People saw them filming on the roof, and they're like, hey, what's going on here? And then rumors started going around that they were going to do some Money in the Bank stuff at Titan Towers, and then they announced it tonight on SmackDown, or I guess a Friday night on SmackDown. So this is something that they've already taped some of, right? They've already filmed some of this match. I guess it's going to be more of a cinematic experience. My only problem with it is, you know, the Money in the Bank ladder match traditionally is one of the most physically demanding matches of the year. It's one of the most grueling, violent, big spot matches that the WWE puts on. And now that they're doing this weirdo movie-style match, it's going to take away from the brutality and the real violence that you see in these Money in the Bank ladder matches, and it's something that I look forward to every year. I've actually traveled to go see the Money in the Bank pay-per-view twice before. I've left my hometown and I went to Boston one year, I went to Philadelphia another year, just to see the Money in the Bank ladder match in person, and I can tell you, it is quite an event. If you have the chance to see a Money in the Bank live, obviously you won't be able to this year, but maybe next year if things go all right, you'll be able to see Money in the Bank in person. It's awesome because you get to see guys flying off the ladders, big spots. It's impressive. You know, you're guaranteed a big crash, somebody going through a table off a 20-foot ladder. You see crazy stuff. You know, I remember seeing Dean Ambrose take a superplex from Seth Rollins off like a 20-foot ladder. I thought he was dead. Like, that was one of the craziest bumps I've ever seen in person, just to see them fly off the top of the ladder. It's one thing when you see it on TV, but when you're right there, when they're 20 feet in front of you, my goodness, what an experience it is. And, of course, no live crowd will be able to appreciate Money in the Bank, but even at home, it's not going to be the same Money in the Bank ladder match as we're used to, with the big spots, the big stunts, guys falling through stuff, crashing through ladders. Now that it's going to be at the headquarters, they'll probably do some stunts, and it'll be cool, but I think it's going to take away from what Money in the Bank is, which is a hard-hitting, hardcore, multi-man or multi-woman ladder match.
Well, my favorite Money in the Bank moment was when you flipped off The Miz, and it was clearly saw on pay-per-view, and you popped Jerry Lawler doing that, too. That was a great moment. That was my favorite. But you're not going to get moments like that, unfortunately. You shouldn't get that anymore. You should never see that, actually. But you saw it, which is fantastic. What?
Are you not condoning my actions, Johnny North? Are you trying to say that I shouldn't have done that? I shouldn't have given the Miz the double bird salute when the camera went right on me? Like, you can't see it because it's been wiped from the WWE Network. It's been wiped from the DVD. But if you were watching the pay-per-view at the time, all you saw was Miz going to the rope, over the rope, just looking at the crowd, and just myself and my brother just popping up, double bird salute to the Miz, and Jerry Lawler started laughing. They talked about it on commentary. It was a funny moment. That's your favorite Money in the Bank moment of all time? When I was on Money in the Bank, embarrassing the Miz. He was supposed to be a babyface at that time, too. It was pretty good. Lawler had a good kick out of it. My favorite was making Jerry Lawler laugh on Money in the Bank.
But that's it. There's going to be no of those fan experiences, so you have to do something different. And
Yeah.
I salute WWE to do something different here.
Yeah, they'll do something different for sure. I won't be at this year's Money in the Bank. Sorry, Miz. Sorry for what I did to you there, buddy. Miz, former tag team champion now. Big E won the SmackDown Tag Team Championships all by himself. The New Day now 8-time champs. Feel the power. I feel the power. I'm loving it. I'm very happy that Big E won. I'm always happy to see the New Day win the tag team titles. When the New Day has the tag team titles, it just feels right. They're the best. And I think at this point, they may be the greatest tag team of all time. I've always put the Legion of Doom atop my list. I've always said that LOD was the greatest tag team of all time. But now, the longevity, the matches, the quality, the promos, everything, the amount of tag team title runs, New Day may be the greatest tag team of all time.
I'd still say the Dudley Boys. They lasted a long time, and they had great promos. Especially in ECW, where they caused riots. That was great.
I'd say New Day. I'd take New Day's promos over the Dudleys.
Well, not those riot promos. Those riot promos were great.
I mean, they were good, but, you know, New Day has to operate under the constraints of the WWE, and they make it work. You know, they're very good. Dudleys, of course, they're up there. It's always up for debate who the greatest of all time is, but I'm tempted to say the New Day. I think I'd still put LOD as the number one because they're just, you know, they're the iconic tag team. They're the Legion of Doom. You know, there's something about those guys, especially growing up in the era that we grew up. They were the tag team.
Right, but when I think about iconic moments, I think about when Bubba Ray powerbombed Mae Young off the stage on Raw. I think it's one of the best moments in Raw history.
I think the Dudleys would tell you that LOD is the greatest of all time, though.
Yeah, everyone will say that. I'm sure New Day would say the same thing. They'd say probably Dudleys or LOD are better, too. People are humble. It's good.
That's right. All right. So we don't know really what to expect from the Money in the Bank ladder match other than it'll be at Stamford, Connecticut at the WWE headquarters, and it will probably be a cinematic wrestling experience. Like, I don't expect it to be one shot with no edits, right? Like, it's not going to be without cuts. They're going to edit this thing. I mean, they've already shot some of the rooftop stuff, so there are going to be a lot of edits in this thing. I hope it's good. I really don't know what to expect, right? It's hard to tell because we've never seen this before. We've seen, I thought the Boneyard match was good. I thought Firefly Funhouse was bad. I thought Matt Hardy's thing with Bray Wyatt was good, but then Bray Wyatt's, House of Horrors match with Randy Orton was bad. So the WWE, they could hit or they could miss with these cinematic wrestling experiences. I'm hoping that they hit with these, but they have two. They have two that they need to make work, which is way harder because they are not just doing the men's match here, but they're doing the women's match as well. So they're going to have to make these matches work somehow. I hope they have a really good idea and a really good concept.
Well, they clearly know who's going to be in these matches, right? We still don't know exactly who's going to be in. For the women, it looks like I think Shayna's probably going to be the most dominant in that match. They're going to make her look really good. And for the men, well, you expect Daniel Bryan to do good, but who else is in this? We don't know yet.
All right, well, let's try and figure it out, Big Johnny. Let's try and figure out what we can expect here at Money in the Bank on May the 10th. We know that it's going to be at the WWE headquarters. We know that Daniel Bryan is going to be in the men's match. Who else will join my main man D-Bry in that match? And how many people will be in the match to begin with? Will this be a 6-person or an 8-person Money in the Bank? So far, 4 women have qualified. So I'm going to guess, given the amount of time we still have for this thing, still 3 more episodes of Raw and SmackDown to build Money in the Bank. So I would expect this to be a pair of 8-person ladder matches, right?
I'm going to guess 6, I think, because Raw, they only put 3 for Raw for the men's side. I wouldn't expect to do more because they did 3 for the women already, right? So I don't think they're going to do any more with that. They don't have any more women on Raw.
So you think it's going to be 6? Huh. I think you might be right. You might be right. I don't know, Big Johnny. You might be correct about that. I'm seeing, that it looks like it might be 6. They've done 8 in the past, though, haven't they?
Oh, I think they've done like 9 or even like 11. It depends on who they have, right? Again, with the men, they have more to work with. But with the women, they're kind of limited. So I'm expecting 6, and I think they want to make this equal. So I think it'll be 6 for the men as well.
Yeah, I think you might be right now. Now that I'm looking at the roster, I'm trying to figure out who else is going to be in this women's Money in the Bank. It's tough. Let's go with the men, though. We know Daniel Bryan is qualified. He beat Cesaro on SmackDown this week. I thought the match was really solid, by the way. Drew Gulak making sure Shinsuke Nakamura didn't interfere on Cesaro's behalf. I thought that was good stuff. I thought it was a good match. A little bit curious as to where in the world is the Intercontinental Champion Sami Zayn. He wasn't on SmackDown last week, wasn't on SmackDown this week.
They're just limiting who they use right now because if they don't need to use the extra people, they're not going to use them. They needed Nakamura because of Gulak, so the interference there, but they didn't need the extra person. So if they need less, they'll use less.
You don't find it strange that Sami Zayn has not appeared on SmackDown since WrestleMania, and he's the Intercontinental Champion when 2 guys from his crew have been on SmackDown?
Well, from what I'm looking at here, it doesn't look like he has like a defense at the pay-per-view, right? So why use him if you don't have to?
Okay. I don't know. I find it odd. Speaking of Quebecers here, Canadian guys, I find it odd that Sammy and Kevin Owens, MIA since WrestleMania. They both won at WrestleMania, but Kevin hasn't been on 2 Raws, the 2 Raws since Mania, not on the show, and Sammy hasn't been on SmackDown since WrestleMania either. I find that strange.
Well, Kevin has a family, right? So maybe he decides he wants to keep this safe and doesn't want to endanger his family, so he doesn't want to go out and wrestle, maybe. Who knows?
Maybe. Rey Mysterio also has a family, we know. We've seen his son Dominic on Raw, but obviously, he could put Dominic in harm's way because Brock Lesnar beat the hell out of him on Raw, so there's that. Is Dominic ever going to be on TV again? Like, it seemed like he was training to be a wrestler. Will we see Dominic Mysterio in the WWE, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's going to happen one day, but maybe things are kind of now on hold because I don't think they're doing much training these days, so you might not see it happen for a while, but I think one day it's the plan.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. I haven't seen Dominic, but Rey Mysterio will be wrestling Murphy on Raw in a Money in the Bank qualifier. I hope Rey wins.
Yeah, I think Murphy's going to win, though, because Seth Rollins, he took that huge loss at WrestleMania, and now I think they want to rebuild his faction, so I think Murphy's going to win this one.
Well, I hope Rey wins. I'm going to go with Rey Mysterio, okay, John? How about Aleister Black versus Austin Theory? You got to go with Aleister Black in this one, right?
Yeah, I think that one's clear. It's pretty obvious. I think Aleister Black's going to win because they kind of hype him that he's still undefeated. Even though he lost on Raw, they hype that he's unbeatable. So I don't think he's going to lose this one.
When did he lose on Raw?
When he wrestled AJ. Remember he had to wrestle Gallows and Anderson first?
That was a long time ago, John. It's hard to remember these things.
It was really only maybe 2 months now. But still, regardless, they push him like crazy. I don't think he's going to lose a qualifying match, especially to Austin Theory. Austin Theory just started. He's going to take the loss. And Aleister Black, he's one of the favorites, I think, going into this.
Aleister Black got a win over Oni Lorcan on Raw this week via pinfall after the Black Mass kick. Austin Theory also picked up a win after the ATL, the Austin Theory launch, his version of the TKO, Austin Theory beating Akira Tozawa on Raw this week. Angel Garza and Andrade seem to be a faction here with Austin Theory. They beat up on Tozawa after the match, and that was a theme of Raw this week. Angel Garza had a match with Tahuti Miles. Tahuti. What? Tahuti. I saw Tahuti wrestle twice this week, okay? I saw Tahuti wrestle Austin Theory, or Angel Garza, and then I saw Tahuti on NXT. I was like, more Tahuti? Tahuti wrestled Dexter Lumis, who has maybe the worst gimmick in all of WWE right now. If you haven't seen Dexter Lumis, well, congratulations. You haven't wasted your time seeing Dexter Lumis. My goodness. Johnny North. I don't even want to talk about Dexter Lumis, but that NXT gimmick, by God, it's awful. He just like stares all creepy and he's got a mustache. You know he was trained by Mr. Hughes? Curtis Hughes?
Well, you know that's Samuel Shaw, right?
From TNA.
Right, the stalker.
Impact.
Well, TNA Impact, whatever. But he did the stalker gimmick.
Where? In Impact? I didn't see that. Who was watching that?
Well, he did this gimmick where he was stalking like Christy Hemme. And he actually did a really good job of it. And I think they're trying to kind of portray that character, but obviously they can't do a stalker kind of thing. But that he's still creepy.
He's just weird, though. He just has this like weird like stare. That's his whole gimmick. He's Dexter Lumis. My nearly 3-year-old son thinks he's ridiculous. He just laughs. Dexter Lumis comes out. My son is just like, ha ha, his face is silly. That's what he says about him. All right? So, I don't know. I don't think it's working there, Dex. Why are we talking about Dexter Lumis? See, I didn't want to talk about this guy at all, and now we're spending like way more time on Dexter Lumis than we ever should have. It's because he wrestled Tahuti. That's why. Because Tahuti. Why are we still talking about Tahuti? Who's Tahuti? What kind of wrestling name is Tahuti Miles? We had some pretty awful wrestling names on Raw and SmackDown this week. I don't know what's worse, Tahuti Miles or Denzel. What was that guy's name? Denzel DiGiorno? The guy that Sheamus beat in the squash match? Denzel DiGiorno or Tahuti Miles? John, if the WWE said, okay, we're going to sign you, but your wrestling name is either going to be Denzel DiGiorno or Tahuti Miles, what wrestling name are you picking? I think I'd pick a Denzel DiGiorno, I think.
Yeah, I like that one. That's all right. I think that was the problem this week with Raw mainly. So Raw had way too many squash matches. Squash matches here and there are fine. Like SmackDown, I think maybe had 1 or 2, and that's fine. But Raw, I felt like over an hour of like just squash matches, almost nonstop. It was way too much.
The whole show was a squash match. I mean, you had, Asuka and Ruby Riott. That was a real match. Asuka beat Ruby Riott by Asuka lock submission. That could have gone either way, I guess. Asuka qualified for Money in the Bank, winning that. Then Aleister Black, Oney Lorcan. That was a squash match. Shayna Baszler, Sarah Logan, total squash match, right? That was barely a match. And that was Sarah Logan. Yeah, and that was a mess, right?
Well, they said Sarah Logan won the match, and she didn't win the match.
That was bad. Yeah, the ring announcer announced Sarah Logan as the winner, even though like Shayna just put her out and won by TKO due to injury after Shayna kicked Sarah's arm and hurt it. And that's Sarah Logan's way of being written off TV, right? Sarah Logan's gone from the WWE. She was released the next day. After losing to Shayna on Raw, Sarah Logan is released by the WWE. That was a squash match. Austin Theory and Akira Tozawa, okay. I mean, at least it was a little bit more competitive, but it was pretty obvious who was going to win that thing from the start, right? Tozawa was barely on Raw. Austin Theory's new. They're trying to push him. That was obvious. Angel Garza and Tahuti Miles. Angel getting the win there. That was a squash match. Nia Jax and Kairi Sane. Was that a competitive match, or would you call it a squash, John?
Well, in terms of name value, you wouldn't say squash, but the match was a squash because, like, what did Kairi get in terms of offense? Like one move, and then it was just domination. That's a squash.
And as we know, the rules to the squash match were explained to us this week on Being the Elite by the great Matthew Hardy. So let's actually hear from Matthew Hardy from this week's episode of Being the Elite. If you don't know what a squash match is, here are the rules.
Yes, I am Broken Matt Hardy, and I'm here to give you the rules to a squash match. Yes. Rule number 1, 3-minute time limit. Rule number 2, job guys can only perform one offensive move. If the match is contested under tag team rules, then one combination move is allowed. Rule number 3, job guys must not be in better shape or have better times than top talent. Rule number 4, the finish only occurs when the overarch performs a finishing maneuver once used by either the Legion of Doom, the Acolytes, or the Steiners. Yeah!
So if you didn't quite get that because of Matt Hardy's accent there, he says that a squash match is under 3 minutes. It's got a 3-minute time limit. The job guy or job guys cannot do more than one offensive move. If it's a tag team of jobbers, they can do one combination move. The job guys must not be in better shape or have better tans than the over talent, the guys that are winning. And what was the last rule? Oh, yeah, the match can only end or a tag team job match can only end when the tag team does a finishing move once performed by either the Legion of Doom, the Acolytes, which was Bradshaw and Farouk, or the Steiner brothers, which I think is great. Matt Hardy, pointing out some truths in wrestling. Great little promo there. Nice little joke. And we saw in WWE, those rules were adhered to in the squash matches. The job guys, they were in worse shape. The matches were under 3 minutes. They got one offensive move, and that was it. All singles squash matches this week on TV, so no need for the combination matches. If you did watch Being the Elite, you saw Frankie Kazarian and Chris Daniels do a squash match there from the Young Bucks compound. But I thought that was great stuff from Matt Hardy. And we see in the WWE, that's true. It's funny, but those rules are adhered to, the squash match rules. 3 minutes or under, and only one offensive maneuver from the job guys.
Well, that's what hurt Raw this week. It was just way too long, too many squash matches. NXT had a mixture. It kind of hurt the show, but at least there were some matches that were okay. SmackDown was the better show.
I thought SmackDown was really good this week. Even the main event of Raw, when Drew McIntyre wrestles Andrade. Drew McIntyre's the newly crowned WWE champion, just beat Brock Lesnar. Now he's wrestling the U.S. champion. And, they're trying to build Andrade as this force. He's got Angel Garza and Austin Theory and Zelina Vega in his corner, but come on now. Drew gets the win. And then Seth Rollins shows up after the match, attacks Drew McIntyre, hits him with 2 curb stomps as Raw goes off the air. So despite the fact that Seth Rollins lost to Kevin Owens at WrestleMania, he seems to be putting himself in that number 1 contender spot for Drew McIntyre's WWE Championship. I fully expect Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre for the WWE title to be one of the main events at Money in the Bank on May 10th.
Yeah, I highly expect that. But now here's a huge question, because the Money in the Bank matches are going to be held at the WWE headquarters. What about these kind of matches? Are they also going to be there, or the Performance Center? If that's the case, it's going to be hard to cash-ins then.
That's a good point. If the Money in the Bank matches are held in Stamford, Connecticut, and the rest of the card is held in Orlando, Florida, how do you reasonably have a Money in the Bank cash-in unless you use some sort of magic. You know? Maybe Bray Wyatt, some sort of Bray Wyatt thing. I'm trying to come up with a magic solution, but I think Bray Wyatt's going to wrestle Braun Strowman for the Universal Championship, so he would have to teleport himself to the Money in the Bank to get cashed in on if he wins. Doesn't make sense. Unless Undertaker winds up winning Money in the Bank, and then he uses magic to teleport back to Orlando and cash in. Stranger things have happened.
Well, he's not the surprise guy I'm expecting for the Money in the Bank match. The surprise guy I'm expecting for Money in the Bank is who they kind of hinted on SmackDown this week.
Mustafa Ali?
No, that's the hacker thing. That's the Mandy and Sonya and Otis and Dolph thing. That's a whole different thing. That's not the Money in the Bank match. The Money in the Bank match is probably going to be the guy they said has never won Money in the Bank.
Who? The suspense is killing me, John. Who are you talking about? Who?
Well, it's Mr. 25th anniversary. It's going to be Triple H probably, I think.
The game, the cerebral assassin. Yes. Now you're talking. What do you mean? You think Triple H is going to be in Money in the Bank and win?
Well, I don't know about win. Win would suck. But it just makes sense that he's going to be in it because they said it twice on SmackDown, like, oh, he's never won Money in the Bank before.
Whoa. I didn't pick up on that. You really think Triple H, look, if he's in the match, you really believe he won't win?
Yeah, I know that's the hard part. Like, yeah, he could easily win. It's Triple H. I mean, he almost always wins. So, yeah, it'd be sad.
If he's in, he wins. And he probably sets up a match with Drew McIntyre.
Oh, I really hope not. That's going to be bad.
It's happening. If Triple H is in it, it's your fault, Johnny. You just brought it up, okay? You're the one pushing this Triple H thing, brother. I'm blaming you.
Well, it's their fault for hinting it, because now I'm sure a lot of people are going to think the same way.
All right, well, maybe Triple H will be in Money in the Bank. Maybe Tahuti will be in Money in the Bank. You never know who might show up in Money in the Bank. It won't be Tahuti. I promise it won't be Tahuti. All right, Big Johnny, we have way more to talk about. I don't want to talk about Dexter Lumis anymore. Okay, we're done with him. We will talk about Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss. They've got a tag team title defense next week. Sonya Deville had quite a promo on SmackDown. We'll get to that, some other stuff that happened on SmackDown, AEW, and when we come back, I want to tackle this whole Ronda Rousey thing. What's going on with Ronda Rousey? Is she coming back? Why is she talking so much? And why is it making people in wrestling mad? Is Ronda wrong for what she's saying? We'll talk about that when we come back. It's Wrestling Uncensored. Stay with us. Commercial break time.
So I can burp? That's nice.
Well, no, that was me. That was just for me.
Okay.
Sorry. Here we go. At the Ringside Report Network, we've been making podcasts for a long time now, and many of you have been using Stitcher to either stream or download our shows. Wrestling Uncensored, Ringside Report MMA. Stitcher now offering you the Ringside Report universe as part of their sponsorship of our work, a special offer on the premium version of their service. Now, besides all of our shows, you can listen to over 100,000 podcasts on your iPhone, Android, tablet, PC, Amazon Echo device, or in your car on demand, ad-free with Stitcher Premium. You also get Stitcher Originals, bonus episodes, comedy albums, and more. Just $4.99 a month, $34.99 a year. It's a great deal. It's a great service. Stitcher.com/premium to sign up today. Stitcher.com/premium. Use that promo code RINGSIDE for a free month of Stitcher Premium. Stitcher.com/premium. Promo code RINGSIDE. And help us out by helping out the sponsors. We get a little kickback to keep on producing shows like this here for you. I know some of you have been using the link already, and we appreciate that big time because it does help. Everything helps. We appreciate your support here on the Ringside Report Network. Right, John?
Well, I just want to know if we could talk about Vince being one of the guys to help restart the economy, because we didn't talk about that yet.
What do you mean?
He's on the committee to help restart the economy in the States. I don't know if you heard about that.
So?
I just want to know what your thoughts were on that. Like, if you think that's a good idea or not.
Why not? He's Vince McMahon. He's the greatest. Yes, I think it's a good idea. I think it's a great idea. Why not, pal? You think it's a bad idea? What's the matter with you?
Well, it just seems like he's getting all his friends. That's what it looks like, to help him.
Who, Donald Trump?
Right, yeah.
Well, when you look for help, who do you ask?
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it.
I love it. I love Vince McMahon. I love that he's a part of everything. Good for Vince. We could talk about WWE being an essential service and the cuts, and I want to place a clip actually from AJ Styles and his thoughts about it, because his thoughts are my thoughts. Exactly what AJ thinks, I think too. So I'll play that for you in a little bit. But right now, I'm making Johnny North disappear for IP Vanish. Now, these days, security on the internet is a major concern. Identity fraud, theft, and privacy are preoccupations that hackers are at home with time on their hands, and they've got nothing better to do than to try and attack you. These hackers are spending their days lurking to find someone they can get. They can access all of your stored information, password, credit cards, all that kind of stuff. Keep them out with IP Vanish. You need a VPN. IP Vanish is now 73% off until the end of April. Now, instead of $143.88 for a year, pay just $39 for the first year. 73% off. Hurry, this offer ends at the end of the month. IP Vanish throwing in $250 worth of gigabytes of secure cloud storage. Now, you can back up all of your important data to the cloud at no extra charge. This is an outstanding deal for the Ringside Report universe. We need you to stay healthy and secure. That's why we recommend what we use, IP Vanish. Sign up right now. Open up a browser window. Go to vpn.ringsidereport.net. vpn.ringsidereport.net, and if you sign up for a subscription, that'll include a 7-day money-back guarantee using our link. The Ringside Report Network will get a small commission, so go to vpn.ringsidereport.net and let IP Vanish know that we sent you. And now, back to the show. All right, welcome back. It is Wrestling Uncensored. I am Dave Simon. Johnny North is here with me. We are here with you each and every week on your radios with Wrestling Uncensored. Of course, online at ringsidereport.net. So much going on the Ringside Report Network. We talked about the releases that the WWE made this week. If you want to hear our thoughts on all the releases from the WWE, you can check that out, a special program, a special bonus episode of Wrestling Uncensored on our YouTube channel and on our website at ringsidereport.net. Now, WWE was made an essential service in the state of Florida. Sports are an essential service in the state of Florida. AJ Styles was on his Twitch playing video games and talking about some of the releases. He was talking about how badly he felt for his buddies, Gallows and Anderson, getting released, feeling responsible for them not being in the company anymore, feeling like he should have done more to protect his brothers. Said he felt like the older brother not protecting his younger brothers, and he felt quite badly about that. Now, here's AJ Styles talking about WWE being an essential service, essential television, and then the cuts, and people complaining about WWE being essential service, but then at the same time, also complaining about the cuts. Now, here's AJ Styles, and I think AJ, the phenomenal one, making a really good point here. Let's listen to the champ.
With all the talk about, with WWE being essential television, I don't know whether it is or it isn't, but I know that I'm glad to be able to entertain. I'm glad to still be able to do my job. I still want to be able to do that. I don't understand people who complain about it and then go on and bury the company for releasing people. Like, you can't have both. These guys, we got to be able to work. If you don't work, your business can't make money. So you got to be able to do that. I want to be able to work, and I know that there's risks involved. and I got to do whatever I can to make sure that, you know, I hopefully don't contract that coronavirus. But I mean, it's a, I don't know, it's hard to say, but there's so many things going on, and you get so many different things going out there, like it's what the coronavirus is, will it be gone, how, you know, you don't know what to believe anymore, you don't know who to trust. It's just so bizarre right now.
So there he is, the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, and I think he makes a good point. You know, a lot of people were criticizing WWE for putting on shows, but then also criticizing the WWE for firing people, and it's like, look, if you don't want them to put on shows, they're not going to be making money, and they're going to fire some people. They're putting on shows, there's nobody in the audience, there's nobody paying tickets, there's nobody buying t-shirts at the live events. They make a ton of money off merch at these live events. It's not just the tickets sold, so there's a bunch of income that's not coming in that they were expecting to come in. The WWE always cleans house after WrestleMania time. This is nothing new. They probably dropped a few more talents because they had to, because of financial problems that they're going through right now. And of course, people are saying, well, the WWE is going to make nearly $1 billion this year, and they're making so much on their TV deals and this and that. Yes, all that is true, but this is what big corporations do, man. They try to cut costs wherever they can. I think a lot of this talent that they did cut wanted out anyways, and some of them that didn't will be better off outside of the WWE because not much of this talent was really being used by World Wrestling Entertainment at the time, right? Not a lot of these guys were really on TV steadily. Rusev hasn't been on TV. Rowan hasn't been on TV. Slater hasn't been on TV. Ryder, Hawkins, so many guys. I guess you could say Carl Anderson and Lou Gallows were on TV, but they're really in a backup role. These guys aren't being featured in the way that they could be for other wrestling companies. So, yes, it's sad when people lose their jobs, but I think AJ Styles makes a really good point. You know, people can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, the WWE shouldn't be doing shows, and they also shouldn't be firing people. It's one or the other, or neither.
Well, in terms of the cuts, like, you're completely right. I mean, this is just what happens. A lot of people have lost their jobs because of this. It's just unfortunate, but just the way it is. And for WWE to survive, they kind of had to do these cuts. I know some people will say, oh, WWE could have survived without it. Like, I think it would have been really tough for them if they didn't cut some people that needed to be cut. These people are making $100,000, and they're not being used at all. So I'm just not surprised that they had to do this. They lost their live event.
Yeah, if you're paying people six figures to do not very much, what do you think is going to happen down the road? You know, these guys are going to get cut. It happens. Okay, just before we move on to Ronda Rousey, I just want to try and figure out the field for the Money in the Bank, Johnny. You did say you thought Triple H was going to be in it. Let's try and figure out the men's field for Money in the Bank. I have Daniel Bryan. Of course, he's already in it. Rey Mysterio and Murphy. You like Murphy. I like Rey. We like Aleister Black to qualify. So Aleister Black, Daniel Bryan, either Rey Mysterio or Murphy. That's three guys. MVP or Apollo Crews. I'd say Apollo Crews, right? I highly doubt MVP is going to be in this thing.
Well, he's also a producer as well, right? I mean,
right.
He's just there for that mainly, and I think to put over talent when he's used like this. So I highly expect Apollo Crews is going to win this.
Okay, so that's three from Raw. You know, Rey or Murphy, Aleister Black probably, or Austin Theory, and then MVP or Apollo Crews, probably Apollo Crews. That's three from Raw. If this is a six-man match, those are your three from Monday Night Raw. Then you have Daniel Bryan. That's four. And then you have the winner of Drew Gulak and King Corbin. That's going to be a qualifier on SmackDown next week. That's five. So there's only room for one more if this is indeed a six-man match. And Johnny North, you're guessing that one more would be The Game, Triple H? That's big.
It is huge, but I mean, look at who's on SmackDown. There's not many to choose from right now, it looks like, because it doesn't seem like there's many people wrestling besides maybe Sheamus.
Yeah, shouldn't Sheamus be in that thing?
Well, is Sheamus wrestling Michael Cole? Because that's what it seems like they're hinting at right now.
What? What do you mean?
But you didn't see that where like he got in Cole's face and got upset because they went to a video package with Jeff Hardy? So I think he's going to feud with Jeff Hardy, actually.
Right. So maybe he won't be in Money in the Bank. Jeff Hardy would make sense in Money in the Bank.
Yeah, Jeff would be fantastic in Money in the Bank. I just don't know if you want to put Jeff in those kind of matches right away.
Who knows if it's even going to be that type of Jeff Hardy Money in the Bank match, right? We were just talking about it earlier. Probably going to be some sort of cinematic experience. Okay, so let's say the Money in the Bank ladder match is Daniel Bryan, Rey Mysterio. All right, I'm putting Rey in there. Forget you, John. Forget Murphy. Daniel Bryan, Rey Mysterio. Yeah, whatever. Aleister Black, Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews getting a big shot here if it is indeed him instead of MVP, right?
Yeah, but he had a great match with Aleister Black. I think this is his reward.
Okay. King Corbin, right? He's beaten Drew Gulak.
I think so.
And then Triple H, really? Not Elias? I think it's probably going to be Elias. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be Triple H. I think that would be cool, but I don't know. After the beating that Elias took from King Corbin this week on SmackDown, you figure Elias gets a qualifying match. He's the third SmackDown guy, and you continue the King Corbin-Elias feud in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Otherwise, does Drew Gulak beat King Corbin, and then Corbin's not even in the mix? Does Gulak beat King Corbin, qualify for Money in the Bank, and then it's like, well, does he help Daniel Bryan in this thing, or does he, go for himself? It's a good option.
That's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. That could easily happen as well. So that makes it more interesting to see what happens next week on SmackDown.
Yeah, it could go either way with Gulak and Corbin, right? You could see both kind of working. If Gulak wins, then there's a thing with Daniel Bryan. If Corbin wins, I think Elias probably winds up as the sixth man in that Money in the Bank match, though.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We'll have to wait for Friday, I guess.
SmackDown is fun. I'm enjoying SmackDown. I want to talk a little bit about Sonya Deville and all the stuff that she said this week. But first, let's talk about Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey causing a lot of controversy in the wrestling world. She was on the Steve-O podcast, and she said the following. I love the WWE. I had such a great time. I love all the girls in the locker room. So far, so good, right? Running out there, and here's where it turns, Johnny. Running out there and having fake fights for fun is just the best thing. I love choreography, I love acting, I love theater. Live theater and some of the last forms of live theater, but I was doing basically part-time and I was away from home 200 days out of the year, and when I did get home, I was so sleep deprived because you just don't have time to lay down. So she's saying, look, it was fun, I enjoyed it, but it was a lot of work, it was 200 days a year, it's like live theater, and it was a lot of fun. I love WWE. I love everybody there. What upset people was her saying, fake fights for fun. Now, are wrestling matches real fights, Johnny North?
They're choreographed.
Right. And everybody got mad because when you say fake and pro wrestling in the same sentence, people in pro wrestling get really upset. Now, I have said fake talking about pro wrestling, but I don't mean fake. I mean predetermined. They're not real fights. When Paul Heyman says Brock Lesnar is going to fight, he doesn't mean it. It's a wrestling match. It's a work. A fight is a shoot. A fight is something that is real where you go into it not sure if you're going to win or lose. That is a fight. Okay? That's what Ronda's talking about. And now everybody gets mad. Here's Nia Jax's response on Twitter. She goes, I can't wait for Ronda to one day return to WWE. Even if WWE orders me to make Ronda look good in the ring, which is the only way for Ronda to look good in the ring with me, I'll risk my job to go down in history as the one from this biz that knocked her the F out. I mean, this has got to be a work, right? Because there's no way Nia Jax thinks for real that she could knock Ronda unconscious. Like, I don't know. Maybe she does. I heard Jim Cornette talking about this week, and he was talking about, like, Nia Jax being, oh, she's so big, she could knock Ronda out. She's Samoan. Ronda's in big trouble. I don't think Jim Cornette understands what real fighting is. And I think a lot of people in professional wrestling don't understand real fighting. And it always astounds me when people that watch professional wrestling have no interest and no inclination for real combat. I come from this from a real combat perspective. I love fighting for real. I love the UFC. I love MMA. I love martial arts. I love real combat. And I love professional wrestling. I love professional wrestling that looks real. I'm old school. I like that you have, wrestlers with real amateur wrestling backgrounds. I think you need that to be a professional wrestler. It used to be a prerequisite. It's not anymore, and I think that's a shame. I like when pro wrestlers are tough for real. And I don't forget that the origins of this thing were a real sport. Pro wrestling was real at one point. But it was too boring, so they had to fix it. They had to fix the matches, and that's why wrestling is predetermined today. When pro wrestling started in the carnivals and the circus, they had real matches. It was real. But then eventually, the matches were like 2-3 hours long. Nothing happened. Nobody got pinned. People were bored. So the promoters got together and said, well, we're going to have to fix some of these matches to make it more interesting, make it more exciting. And that's how professional wrestling changed from a real sport to what we have today, the predetermined thing that it is today. There's nothing wrong with it being predetermined. It just is. But I like it to feel realistic. I like the realistic style of professional wrestling. I like the realism. And a lot of people look at pro wrestling like it's a comic book or superheroes or whatever. That's not how I see it. Wrestling always has something for everybody, but for me, I like the real tough people in pro wrestling. I like Kurt Angle, an Olympic gold medalist. I like Brock Lesnar, UFC heavyweight champion. I like Ronda Rousey, UFC women's bantamweight champion. I like Shayna Baszler, former UFC fighter. Matt Riddle. The real tough fighters, the real athletes, the real combat sports athletes that are in the WWE, I'll admit I have more respect for them. I have more respect for pro wrestlers that are involved in combat sports. I have more respect for Daniel Bryan knowing that he practices Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a blue belt, might even be a purple belt at this point. I have more respect for Chad Gable and Otis and Dolph Ziggler and Jake Hager and people like that, knowing that they have accomplished collegiate wrestling careers, real wrestling. They have real skills, and it makes their pretend matches look more realistic. I like a snug, real wrestling style. I don't like when moves are applied that look phony. I don't like when The Miz applies a rest hold and it doesn't look good. There are wrestlers out there who apply holds, arm bars, rear chin locks, whatever, and it's just sloppy, unrealistic. And from my perspective, as a guy who's been involved in amateur wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for most of my life, at this point, it's most of my life I've been involved in martial arts, real martial arts. When I see these phony holds in pro wrestling, it takes me out of it. So I'm with Ronda, and I'm usually with the real fighting side of professional wrestling. I respect that. And here is what Ronda said. Let me show you a little bit. This is what Ronda Rousey said here. Anyone who is outraged by me calling pro wrestling fake fights for fun has never been in a real fight. While you all are tiptoeing around bruising some pro wrestlers' huge soft egos, no one is thinking about all the real fighters you're insulting when pretending pro wrestling is somehow on the same level of realism. Yes, I understand. Wrestling 300 days a year for years on end is incredibly tough on the body and a difficult profession. But do you know what would happen if you got into 300 real fights in a year? you would be dead. She's not wrong. She's not wrong whatsoever. And people in pro wrestling that don't get that don't understand real combat. And believe me, there are a lot of pro wrestling people, not just pro wrestling fans, but pro wrestling people that are in pro wrestling, pro wrestlers, pro wrestling managers. Obviously, Jim Cornette doesn't get it. He thinks because Nia Jax is 300 pounds and Samoan that she has a shot in hell of beating up Ronda Rousey for real. I mean, when people who supposedly understand the business like Jim Cornette are saying things like that in public, it makes you wonder, like, guy, do you not understand combat? A lot of these people in pro wrestling, involved in pro wrestling, are delusional. And they're still operating under the premise that, oh, well, she's much bigger, so she'll definitely win. 1993, Hoist Gracie, 170 pounds, was beating people twice his size. 1993, UFC 1, and people still don't get that size doesn't matter in a real fight. 1993, Cornette. Figure it out, people. This has been a fact since the early 90s. And people still don't get that just because one lady's 300 pounds and the other one's, 150 pounds, oh, well, the 300-pound lady's for sure going to win. No, that's not how fighting works. So many people in pro wrestling don't understand real fighting, and that's why people were mad about what Ronda Rousey said, because they're clueless. They don't get it. Ronda's 100% right. Respect to Ronda Rousey. The wrestling fans didn't appreciate her when she was around. She's a far bigger star than anybody in the WWE. She elevated the entire company, especially the women's division, especially Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, and everybody else that Ronda stepped into the ring with. And if she was too rough on Alexa Bliss, too bad. Too bad. That's what happens. You think Brock Lesnar isn't too rough on some of his opponents? But Brock gets a pass? I mean, people get mad, but hey, he's still on top. You don't hear people all mad about Brock Lesnar. You think he really likes the wrestling business? Come on now. I think Ronda probably has more appreciation for pro wrestling than Brock does. But, because she's Ronda, because she speaks her mind, people are going to be mad. Ronda is correct. They are not real fights. And if you call them real fights or think that they are on the same think a pro wrestling match is on the same level as a real fight, that is an insult to real fighters. And people that don't get that don't get real fighting. That's okay. You don't know a wrist lock from a wristwatch. That's cool. Enjoy your Firefly Funhouse.
Well, I think you can agree, though, no athletic commission would ever let you fight 300 times a year.
No, because you would be dead, like Ronda said.
Well, no, they wouldn't let you fight after you're suspended. I think at least 30 to 60 days usually after a fight. You can't fight; it's impossible.
Well, it's for your own health, John.
Right, but it can't be done. No one would ever sanction that. So it's totally different scenarios here we're talking about.
Yeah, because a real fight where you don't know the outcome is generally more taxing on your body than a wrestling match. Unless you're Ronda Rousey, whose real fights lasted like 30 seconds. But, those two fights that she had that didn't go her way, find me a pro wrestling match where somebody's as busted up, knocked unconscious, like Ronda Rousey was in her fights with Amanda Nunes and Holly Holm. I'll wait. Find me a pro wrestling match that's that brutal, where you get that level of damage. Find me that. You can't. You cannot find that. It doesn't exist because it would be horrific. It would be wrong. Because in pro wrestling, you're not trying to do damage to your opponent. You're trying to put on a show and go home in one piece. In MMA, you are trying to put your opponent's lights out. You're doing permanent damage to your opponent. You don't care if she lives or dies. In that moment, you're stuck in a cage, and it's you or them. That's not what pro wrestling is. You're working together in pro wrestling. In a fight, You are trying to destroy your opponent. Totally different. What Ronda Rousey went through with Holly Holm has not been replicated in the WWE. It has not. And it should not. She was kicked in the head and knocked unconscious. Her face was a mess. When's the last time you saw somebody's face that busted up in a pro wrestling match? I'll wait.
Well, Mick Foley took a lot of good beatings. Remember when Brock beat the crap out of Cena? That was pretty good. You can't tell me Brock didn't lay it in there. Especially when he busted him open, too, with his elbows. That was fantastic.
Sure. Once in a while, you have a wrestling match that is almost as brutal as a fight. But fights, come on. You've seen some wars. Go watch Dan Henderson and Shogun Rua and tell me that a fight is the same thing as a wrestling match. Go watch those fights and tell me. Go watch Kelvin Gastelum and Israel Adesanya for the UFC middleweight championship. Go watch that fight and tell me that pro wrestling is the same level of brutality. It's not. Fighting is harder. Going through a fight is like a car crash every time. You know, sometimes you get out lucky, but a 5-round mixed martial arts fight, generally, you take years off your career every time you do it. Some of these guys, like that Israel Adesanya Kelvin Gastelum fight, I mean, those guys took years off their careers. Go watch Robbie Lawler and Rory McDonald, and then find me a pro wrestling match as brutal as that fight. You can't. You've seen Rory McDonald's face after that fight, right, Johnny North? You know what I'm talking about?
It went the distance, if I'm not mistaken, that fight.
No, Rory got knocked out, I think, in the 5th.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
I remember his face, though.
Yeah. When's the last time you saw a pro wrestler look like that? Right? Ronda's not wrong, okay? This is what people don't understand. Ronda is correct. Pro wrestling, it's not real fights, and when people get mad that she says they're fake fights, she's just using the wrong term, okay? She means predetermined, okay? I understand that, you know, people hate when you say fake in pro wrestling because people are like, oh, wrestling's fake, da-da-da-da-da, right? But Ronda obviously has more respect for pro wrestling than the average person who's like, oh, that fake stuff, that silly stuff. She was a champion. She main evented WrestleMania. She had a lot of matches, and she elevated the whole company by appearing on Raw each and every week and working most of the women's roster. And the fans didn't appreciate it whatsoever. They turned on her.
Right, and she vented, and this was mainly just to get attention because, like, she hasn't been mentioned that much lately. So this got her back into mainstream attention, at least on the internet. And now people are talking about her again. So when she comes back, people will care.
Do you think that this is just Ronda talking, or this is calculated for a comeback?
I think it's talking, but I think they can take advantage of this.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just Ronda kind of being Ronda. It snowballed into something else, and they might use it to bring her back, although right now, I don't think she's going to come back anytime soon. All right, we got more stuff to get to here. How about what happened on SmackDown with the whole Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose deal? That was a whole thing, right? That was weird. Sonya...
Well, the acting was weird.
Yeah, the acting was very strange from Sonya. She starts off crying about Mandy Rose and how their friendship is broken, and she's got good reasons for what she did. Now, Sonya had tricked Mandy Rose into falling in love with Dolph Ziggler and not going for Otis instead, right? Mandy Rose shows up, and Sonya's like, Mandy, you're the most selfish human being I've ever met, and you're always in it for yourself, and I'm sick of, you know, coming out to your music. They even blurred my face in your entrance video. I'm showing your magazines around. I'm just your sidekick. I'm sick of being your sidekick. You're not in it for Fire and Desire, our tag team, which is like, who even knew that was the name of their tag team? And Sonya's mad, and she's like, look, Dolph Ziggler, he really cared about you, Mandy, and he could have helped us as a tag team to become champions at WrestleMania, but you were too short-sighted to believe that. And Mandy just seemed confused by the lack of sense in Sonya's motivations here. Sonya says Mandy might be pretty, but she's nothing but a dime a dozen bottled blonde who looks like she was created in a lab, and Mandy is just eye candy who has no talent. And Sonya really fired up at certain moments in this promo. It started off kind of slow, but it seemed like there were some real bits that were coming out there from Sonya, some real resentment, because, you know, she has been second banana to Mandy Rose for pretty much her entire WWE career. And then Dolph Ziggler shows up, and he's like, please, Mandy, don't tell me that you don't feel something for me. Look into my eyes. Dolph seems to want to salvage the relationship with Mandy, but then Otis shows up for some reason. Well, no. So Mandy pushes Dolph away, which makes Sonya really mad for some reason. Sonya attacks Mandy, and then Otis shows up. He attacks Dolph, and then Sonya jumps on Otis, and Mandy pulls her off, and then Dolph tries to get more of Otis, but then gets taken out with the Caterpillar elbow drop, and Mandy and Otis kind of stand tall together. It was, you know, there were moments in that Sonya promo that worked, but there were other moments in it that were just kind of like, what? She wanted Mandy to be with Dolph because she felt he would be better for their tag team?
Yeah, it makes sense. He has the experience. He's been a champion before. He's been a tag team champion before. He can help guide them with his experience. It makes sense.
Get out of here. No, it doesn't. Does it?
Yeah, it's fine. It works. I just thought she was going to come out and say, like, oh, I'm in love with you, and I want you to be with the right person because I know you don't feel the same way about me. I thought that's where we were going, but no, WWE doesn't think that way.
It was weird, right? It was a weird promo. Like, it wasn't terrible, but it was strange and not fully Sonya's fault. A lot of it was like the motivations of the character. Again, the character motivations in WWE never really make sense. And the motivation here for Sonya, like, she kept Mandy away from Otis and with Dolph because she felt Dolph would be better for the tag team. Like, that's a real stretch. I know you're accepting it, but bit of a stretch. But then also she really hates Mandy because Mandy's so selfish. So I don't understand. Does she hate Mandy and want to beat her up because she's so selfish and she's sick of being her sidekick? Or is she super dedicated to their tag team and being tag team champions? Like, it doesn't seem like the two don't really make sense. Like, they don't add up. So on the one hand, she really thinks Mandy's selfish, but on the other hand, she really wants to make this tag team work. What?
Well, I guess her going with Otis was like the last straw. It's like, I'm trying to make this work, but you blew it for us at WrestleMania, and now this is it. I've had enough. I'm just going to vent right now and tell you how I feel.
Okay. I don't know. I don't think it was great. I thought it was a little bit strange. But that was on SmackDown this week. That was one of the big chunks of SmackDown. Dana Brooke getting the win over Naomi to qualify for Money in the Bank. What? How come Dana Brooke got a win? And will she win the tag team titles with Carmella next week? Is Dana Brooke on some sort of roll?
Well, I think this was actually a good idea because, like you, I thought they were going to focus her in the tag team match, but they're putting that on SmackDown instead of the pay-per-view. So now that she's qualified, you had the promo with Carmella being like, hey, what are you doing? She's like, no, it's okay. I can do both. And we're probably going to see that it's probably not going to work out for her. So maybe I could see Carmella also qualify for Money in the Bank, and there'd be problems with them in the Money in the Bank match.
Tamina got a win over Sasha Banks after a super kick and some help from Lacey Evans, who took out Bayley. Now, Tamina earning a future shot at Bayley in the SmackDown Championship. I got to say, I'm happy for Tamina. I thought she had a kind of rough week, you know, with that dark side of the ring on her father coming out. It's nice that she kind of capped off the week with a win on SmackDown. She doesn't get many wins. She's not seen on TV very often. It's kind of an upset when you beat Sasha Banks and you're Tamina, right? And it'll probably be Tamina versus Bayley at Money in the Bank for the SmackDown title.
Well, she beat Sasha Banks, but, I mean, there was interference, though. So, I mean, it wasn't completely clean. But still, it's a win for Tamina, and that's nice. And she'll get the match with Bayley, but I don't think she's going to win, though.
No, I don't think so either, but it's nice that she gets the spot nonetheless. Nice for her to pick up the win on SmackDown this week. watching that Dark Side of the Ring, which we reviewed on this week's episode of Dave and Johnny Live, you could watch on the YouTube channel right now. I felt for Tamina having this out there on her father. It doesn't make him look very good at all. She's out on TV. It's nice to see her get a win over Sasha Banks, a big win for her, and a title shot. Nice, it can't be easy to see that come out and make news in the wrestling business. And it's nice that she gets, some positive out of the week in wrestling, right? It couldn't have been easy.
Well, I'm sure it's just something she doesn't want to really talk about at all, and having this is a great distraction, and it's better her just to move forward than worried about what people say.
Who attacked Tommaso Ciampa on NXT?
It was Killer Cross.
Oh, that was Killer Cross. Okay. So he made his debut. Timothy Thatcher also making his debut. He is with Matt Riddle. I guess Pete Dunne, stuck in England, can't come back to defend the NXT tag team titles with Matt Riddle. So Riddle's got a new tag team partner, Timothy Thatcher. I liked his work. I thought he looked pretty good on NXT this week, beating Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong. And next week on NXT, it looks like we're going to have Velveteen Dream versus Finn Balor. Whoa.
Well, first off, that tag match was easily the best match on NXT by far.
Yeah.
And Finn Balor and the Dream, it just makes sense because Finn was supposed to feud with Walter, but he's stuck in the UK, so that's not going to happen. So put him with someone else now. It makes sense.
I like it. I like it a lot. It's going to give AEW some stiff competition on Wednesday night. They have 2 more matches in their AEW tournament coming up, right? The AEW TNT title tournament. We saw Lance Archer qualify for the next round, getting the win over Colt Cabana. I thought that match was pretty awesome. The blackout finisher there that Lance Archer hit on Colt, pretty damn impressive, man. Colt Cabana's a big dude to hit that finisher on. That was sweet.
No, that was definitely a good start to Dynamite. Dynamite started good, but unfortunately it was a lot like Raw, where you had a lot of squash matches. And unfortunately the main event was just okay at best.
Yeah, they hyped that main event quite a bit, but I was not really thrilled with what they did there. I was not impressed with the Jake Hager-John Moxley match whatsoever. I didn't think it was that good. John Moxley is underwhelming as AEW champion. They should have never taken the title off Chris Jericho. I don't think John Moxley is the answer to be the AEW World Champion right now. I never would have put the title on him. I would have kept it on Jericho this whole time and given it to somebody else down the road, like Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, one of the guys that's really carrying this AEW company. John Moxley's all right, but as far as the top stars in the company, I don't think he's really top 5. Not for me, anyways.
Yeah, but he was supposed to be away, Jericho, at this point. He's supposed to be touring with Fozzy. So Jericho wasn't even supposed to be on Dynamite. But unfortunately, this pandemic happened, so things changed. Jericho's now on commentary, and thankfully he's on commentary because him and Shivani, they're the best commentary right now in wrestling.
Yeah, they are very good. Yeah, I do like it. I do like Jericho's commentary, and I'm glad he's not on tour with Fozzy right now, and that he's there for AEW, but I think, that's too bad he's not champion right now. Elsewhere on AEW, Kip Sabian got the win over Chucky T. Sammy Guevara got the win over Pineapple Pete, or Shug D as they were calling him, but we all know him as Pineapple Pete. John Moxley getting the win over Jake Hager for his first defense of the AEW World Championship, and Britt Baker beat Cassandra Golden. Coming up on AEW this week, it's going to be Orange Cassidy versus Jimmy Havoc, and Wardlow will be in action. We will also see, I believe, 2 more matches from this AEW TNT tournament, right? We're going to have, Dustin Rhodes versus somebody?
Kip Sabian.
Kip Sabian. There you go. Kip getting the win this week, so he's looking to get another one. It's going to be Dustin versus Kip, and the other match. What's the other match, John? Do you know? I'm trying to find it.
Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So those two matches are happening, and then the winner of those matches will face each other, right? No. So the winner of Sammy Darby faces Cody in the semifinals, and then the winner of Dustin Rhodes versus Kip Sabian faces Lance Archer. So I'm going to say Dustin Rhodes is going to win because it makes sense for a babyface to face Archer, and I'm going to say Darby Allin is going to win because it makes sense to have the rematch there with Cody. So Darby and Cody, and then Archer and Dustin are my picks for the semifinals.
Well, we mentioned this last week where we think Shivani may have spoiled it because we said, oh, Darby's going to wrestle Cody, he said, like 2 weeks ago when they had that problem in that tag match.
Yeah.
So we feel like they've already spoiled it in a sense.
Yeah, Darby and Cody makes a lot of sense to happen, and I think it's probably going to go down. So these matches coming up on AEW Dynamite this week. Johnny North, we're over time. We're out of time. When can people see you? Oh, forget it, man. People can't see you in the ring, right? You don't have any matches booked till what, September?
You know, it's funny. Main Event Wrestling actually booked it for August 28th, which is impossible because all events are canceled in Montreal throughout the summer. But maybe one day, maybe next year, we'll have to wait and see. Keep checking out Torture Chamber Pro Wrestling's Facebook page for more info whenever they have a show.
There you go. And follow him on Twitter at North Genesis. Follow him on Instagram at Genesis Johnny North. You can follow me on all the things at Dave Simon MMA. Of course, Johnny North, we can't wrap up the show just yet. We have to, of course, mention the passing of Howard Finkel, the greatest ring announcer of all time, the first ever WWE employee, a guy who worked for the company for most of his adult life, a guy who was with the company for, I guess, 30 years, a WWE lifer, one of the originals, and, for my money, you'll never see another ring announcer like the Fink. No one will ever be as good as Howard Finkel.
I liked it when they had Jericho with Fink. I thought that was pretty good, but unfortunately they got rid of it too quick.
Yeah, Jericho and Finkel were a funny little duo. Finkel just doing the ring announcing, man. He was great. There was nobody better. And the whole thing when he came out. Fantastic, man. Finkel was great, and he will definitely be missed. I heard Bruce Pritchard talk about him on his podcast this week, and he started tearing up. It was pretty emotional stuff, so I would check that out. The episode on Nails, who was one of my favorites back in the day. I always liked Nails. I thought he was kind of cool. I mean, terrible, but cool. I liked the gimmick, and he was scary. But check out that podcast. It was good stuff. Check out our podcast at ringsidereport.net. We're on Google Play. We're on your Amazon Echo. We're on Spotify. We're on Stitcher Premium. We're on all the things. We're here on your radios, and we're also on YouTube and Facebook, the video versions of this show. Check out everything that we do at ringsidereport.net. For Johnny North, I am Dave Simon. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This has been Wrestling Uncensored. Yeah.
Yeah.